What's up, guys? This is Brent with Western Equipment. Now let's go ahead and dive right on into this really controversial and popular topic of should I buy a battery powered mower or a gas powered mower. There are obviously going to be pros and cons to each one of these machines, and we know that the high percentage of people are going to say I'm going with that gas mower 100% every time. But let me just go over 5 different topics here that may kind of change that perspective just a little bit. The first one, let's talk about belts. Now, as we know that on these mowers, we are going to have high wear items, and one of them is going to be the belts on these mowers. Now, we know that on a gas powered mower, we do have a deck belt that's going to run those blades on the deck. And then usually we're going to have one towards the back that also runs our transmission. Now, these are going to be rubber belts, as we know that from time to time, debris gets in those, they happen to break, they snap. They're just a constant wear item that we're having to worry about and think about that possibly cost us money. Now, I know that with the proper kind of maintenance, we can avoid a lot of this a lot of the time, but there are still those times where we happen to get those nicks, maybe in our pulleys. We have issues with that belt, and we just end up having to spend money on a belt. Now, one thing that you're not going to have with the John Deere battery powered mower are the belts. We're not going to have them on the deck. We're not going to have them on the transmission. Those are both going to be directly driven from the battery, whereas all of the power on a gas powered mower is coming from the engine. Therefore, the belts have to run power from the engine to the transmission and from the engine to the deck. So whenever we go battery versus electric here, the only thing that we've got here is that on the battery, we have no belts. With the gas, we do have belts. So we're going to save some money here on not having that wear item. But one of the things that we have to consider over here is that since we have a direct drive motor rather than a spindle that's being ran by a belt, if we do happen to have any damage underneath the deck, so if we're talking about any damage where we hit something, where we bend the shaft that runs that blade on a direct drive motor, this is going to be more expensive on a battery powered mower than it would be on a gas. And the reason is that a spindle on a deck that is being ran by a belt is just going to be a simple mechanism that is ran mechanically that is going to be cheaper than that full electric drive motor over here on the battery powered mower. Now, number 2, let's talk about engine maintenance. Now, obviously the difference between these two machines is one is going to have an engine, one is not. So some of the things that we are going to have to constantly be keeping in mind over here on the gas powered mower is servicing that gasoline engine. So some of the things that we're going to have: oil filter, fuel filter, spark plugs, and an air filter. Those are 5 service items that you are going to need for this mower periodically, generally once a year, that you are going to have to change out on this mower. Whereas whenever we are moving over here to the battery powered mower, the only type of maintenance that you have to do to the battery back here is going to be plugging it into charge. Now, once again, there are pros and cons to this as well. If we happen to have any type of engine failure over here on a gasoline powered mower, a lot of times that can be fixed by a technician where you might avoid some of that cost. Whereas over here on the battery powered mower, if you happen to have an issue with the battery, you may end up having to replace that battery. So we're just having to weigh here the differences in what things may cost. So cost of ownership, cost of buying the machine, those things all can play into how much maintenance each one of these machines is going to have. Now, talking about maintenance, let's go ahead and move to our third item, which is going to be maintaining our rear drive components, which are going to be completely different on these two machines. So over here on the gas mower, what you're going to have are hydrostatic pumps that run each one of these rear wheels. So we talked about having that power transferred from the engine through a belt to the transaxle. So we have 2 independent transaxles over here, or transmissions, that are going to run these outside wheels. These are also going to require at least a little bit of maintenance, even on the cheapest model or version of these transaxles. We're going to have to be checking that fluid on them. Good thing is, though, is that if we have issue with one, we can usually get that repaired, take that off and fix it. Now, the difference here is whenever we go to our battery powered mower, there is going to be absolutely no maintenance on the rear drive system here. This rear drive system is going to be a single electric motor that runs 2 drive motors on the outside all the way out to your hubs that run your rear wheels, so there is no maintenance there. Now, one thing too that I'd point out whenever we're talking about differences in these transaxles, what you're going to have is a little bit more touchy, a little bit more torquey transaxle when we're looking at a battery powered mower. Reason being is we have to think about this being on a switch system rather than over here on the gas powered mower. This is going to be more or less tightening and tensioning that belt, changing which direction that power is going to go from left to right. Over here, we're getting the same amount of power to that transaxle the entire time, whereas here we're transferring power, so it's just a little bit different system whenever we're looking at driving these mowers. But the cost of ownership is going to be a difference, and then also the cost of replacement if we happen to have issues could also be a determining factor here as well. Number 4, let's talk about fuel versus battery life. Now, obviously we know that the biggest difference here between these two mowers is the way that they are powered, battery versus fuel, and the difference too in runtime here is that with a fuel powered machine, you're going to be able to continuously put more fuel into that machine, keep going all throughout the day. So if you're that person that has numerous amounts of yards that you need to go do, or maybe you're that commercial landscaper, or maybe you just have a ton of acreage there at your own place, then fuel is probably the way you're going to go. And then with battery, we are only going to get so much mow time out of this machine. Now, John Deere is going to tell you that on their battery powered mower here that you are going to get 2 acres of mow time out of this machine. We've actually done a video on this where I got a lot more than that done. I'll actually leave a link to that video down in the description below so you can check that out. And all of these things, of course, are going to depend on the different variables. But after that time, you are going to have a charge time that you're going to have to wait on. So one thing that you need to weigh out here is what exactly are you doing with the mower? Is this going to be the mower that sits at your house and you have 2 to 3 acres that you're mowing once, twice a week? Or are you that guy that has 5 to 6 acres? Or you have multiple yards that you're going to be mowing that you need to be able to keep going without having to stop for that charge time? Because if you are that guy, then the battery powered mower is not going to be the way to go. But if you are that residential homeowner, maybe you're that homeowner that has what we call a large acreage property, you're that large residential customer, you have that 2 to 3 acres, then maybe the battery powered one is the way to go. But if we are going to be that operator that's doing multiple different things, we need to keep that machine running, then maybe fuel is the way to go. This is just one of the questions that we need to make sure to consider when we're looking into these 2 different machines. Now the last one, number 5, this is one that probably most people don't think about whenever they are going out and buying their machine, is that whenever we are on these machines and using them, there is going to be a noise factor through both of these machines. Now over here on our gas powered machines, what we have to think about is we have 2 sources that are going to create noise whenever we're mowing that grass. One is going to be the engine, and the second is going to be the deck. So not only are you going to get that high-pitched, loud engine noise from the back, you're also getting the noise coming from the deck, from those blades turning underneath. So a lot of times, if you're going to be running this machine for hours on end, hearing protection is definitely something that you need to think about. Whereas whenever we move over here to the battery powered machine, I can tell you now from having this mower for about a month, using it all around in different areas, that you can be mowing on this machine, have the deck on, and still be able to have a conversation with someone because you do not have the noise of that gasoline engine running behind you. The only noise that you have is going to be from the deck. So once again, we're going back to what are we using this mower for? Are we doing commercial work with it? Are we using it at our home and residential area? Do we happen to live in a residential area where noise restrictions could be a possibility? Are we living in a state or in a neighborhood where maybe emissions is something that we need to think about? All of these are going to be things that we need to think about. But the root of this one, number 5 here, is going to be the noise. We need to consider where we're going to be using this mower. If that's an issue to us, is one of these going to be better than the other? I would definitely say that if noise is one that you are worried about, I would highly suggest looking in to the battery powered mower. Now, all in all, this video is not meant to sway you one way or the other, because honestly, John Deere makes a great product, whether we're talking about a battery powered machine or a gas powered machine. And I would like for you to have a green one sitting in your garage, no matter which version of it you have. But I just want that information to be out there. Put some ideas in your head. 5 things for you to think about whenever you are going out and looking at these mowers to try to decide which one is best for you. So I hope this video helped you out. I hope that you liked this video. If you did, we just ask you to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Also, guys, if you're needing any John Deere parts at all, make sure to go check us out at 247parts.com. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Hey guys, make sure to check out this cool video and this one. Buy your parts right up here and subscribe right here.